Were the plays uncommonly good, and did they make sense? At the Sheen Center is Anushka Paris-Carter and Andy Paris's Uncommon Sense, which highlights various people on the spectrum with such tenderness that I found myself rooting for every accomplishment that they could achieve. Moose started out as this delightful child who said mama and milk and then just noises. His parents, Dan and Emily, don't want to put him in a home or institution and have hopes that their love will get through to him. Ashla loves her Lolly, who only seems interested in playing with rice, and she just wants to be able to communicate with her. To that end, she brings in a speech-language pathologist. Dan wants to be an actuary as he loves numbers. His sister Libby, who looks out for him, sets him up with Sarah, who seems to be perfect for his quirks and love of toxicology. Jess has tried to regroup at many colleges studying neuroscience, where this time she meets Alex, who needs her tutelage, and it turns into something more. Will they be able to navigate through life? Is love enough to keep someone safe? How does everyone cope, as it is frustrating for both sides? Andy Paris has directed this with a sensitive eye and lighthearted moments. Paul Miller's lighting design is spectacular, and John Coyne's set is very intricate. Uncommon Sense is uncommonly good. Don't miss this one.
Schoolgirls, or the African Mean Girls play written by Jocelyn Bio and directed by Rebecca Teichman, is set in a central Ghana 1986 in a girls' boarding school where Paulina lords it over the others. And Paulina hopes to be Miss Ghana of 1986, but when a new girl comes from the States whose father is a rich cocoa planter in Ghana, and this girl is lighter skinned than the others and quite adept and is able to win the other girls over by being friendly, the dynamics change. The recruiter for Miss Ghana is a former Miss Ghana and also a former classmate of the headmistress. She offers to give the headmistress a nice donation if the girl is chosen and wins. So will the lighter-skinned girl be chosen even though the headmistress feels this is not representative of the country? What does it take to be a winner, and what really does it mean to be a winner or a loser? This is familiar territory, but it's nicely done. So I gave it a happy face minus. At 75 minutes, you definitely won't be bored.
Stephen Aldi Gurgis's Jesus Hop the A-Train is a hard look at two inmates at Rikers Island. Angel is there for shooting a priest in the ass. He was trying to save his BFF Jody, who had been brainwashed by this false prophet. It's based on the Moonies. Lucius, on the other hand, was a blatant serial killer who had achieved notoriety for his crimes and was just biding time until he's extradited to Florida and given a death penalty, and he's based on Son of Sam. Mr. Gurgis raises some interesting questions about faith, friendship, redemption, and the lure of celebrity. Are we supposed to sympathize with Lucius just because he's become religious and is charismatic? Mark Brokaw has directed this with great skill. He brings out all the different elements that Mr. Gurgis advances to make us question our own values and beliefs. The strong ensemble makes us get into the heads of all the characters. One's own beliefs get pretty shaken up at the end, and it shows there are no good or bad guys, just people trying to get by with what they were given. And I give this a happy face.
In Clockwork Orange at New World Stages, Alex, John O'Davies, who's really wonderful, and his droogs or friends Dim and Pete, etc., express their youthful energy by engaging in ultraviolence and mayhem. When Alex is caught and sent back to prison, he partakes in an experimental conditioning program in which Dr. Brodsky uses the Ludovico technique to turn him into a model citizen who loathes violence. Unfortunately, he also might lose his ability to respond to music and be a human being turned into a Clockwork Orange. This is more kind of like a dance piece and performance art thing than really a well-told narrative, but it's very exciting in its energy and its homoerotic tendencies. So I think I liked it more than Eva did.
Yeah, see, I really liked the movie. I really liked the book. This was part of my teenageness. So I don't know. I just really, strangely enough, appealed to me. And I don't know why, but it just bothered me no end. There are no women in it. The men play the women, they play all the part, and it's like, you know, they rape women and everything, and it's almost like they're eradicating women even more, like we don't even we shouldn't even bother to even exist.
Well, but
And
I think if we
just
showed the women, it would be more like this is insulting women by showing them being raped. Here it's just a representation of rape.
But that's just it. It loses its power. It just to me, it just wasn't the same. To me, it just did not work. I did not like it. Although I've got to say, they were all very hunky, and it was nice to look at all their little muscly bodies. But the impact of Clockwork Orange just was totally lost. I mean, it just didn't feel the same. I just got more from the book and movie than I did from this.
Well, I agree. It's a great movie, but this is a really interesting dance piece. So I gave it a happy face, but I agree it could use a happy face minus.
I'll give it a mix. I just saw 2 shows at the Public. The first we're going to talk about is Julia Cho's Office Hours, which has 2 teachers warning their colleague Gina about a scary silent student, Dennis, who writes disturbing stories that leave the other students scurrying out of the classroom in fear and disgust. They are concerned he might end up shooting them all. And during office hours, Gina feels she can get through to Dennis, but can she? Why is he so antisocial and is compelled to write these vile stories? When should the school step in to prevent a potential tragedy? What makes a person feel they are so ugly when they are not? Many questions are posited with no real answers, and many scenarios are shown with too many potential realities to ground them. The problem is that they keep coming at me, all these different scenes. They begin to lose their impact. It's a shame, as this had the potential to be more hard-hitting with less gimmicks and more understanding as a troubled student. Neil Keller tautly directed the actors who inhabited their roles so sincerely that I believed in them and their concerns, so I'm giving this a happy face minus. Next we have Richard Nelson's Illyria at the Public. Ostensibly, it's about Joseph Papp's struggle to keep free Shakespeare in the park going against the city's bureaucracy led by Robert Moses back in 1958. There's also a subplot with casting Twelfth Night's Olivia between these 2 people, one of them being his wife, and this director, Stuart Vaughan. He's about to do Phoenix Theater, and so he has a rift, and there's an allusion to Hardwick, and there's all these notable people here. But Richard Nelson has discovered this formulaic approach to playwriting that started with his family sitting around a kitchen table and eating and discussing politics and their concern. Now he's foisting his dull as dishwater dialogue on very larger-than-life people. Nothing happens. Nelson could make the Algonquin Round Table tedious. Anything to do with Joseph Papp should not be a snooze fest. So, when you are told at the beginning, they say this is a conversational play, that means they're talking in very low voices. You can't hear a damn thing, so get the damn listening devices if you want to suffer through this. I mean, if you like his other plays with the Apples and the Gabriels, you'll like this, but I find him beyond boring.
The Women's Project is presenting Theresa Rebeck's What We're Up Against, directed by Adrienne Campbell Hope. Architect Eliza has been hired by mostly absentee boss David to improve the quality of the firm's work. She's upset because she hasn't been given an opportunity to work in the 5 months she's been with the company. Her immediate boss, Stu, a frequently drunk old boy, and his crew find her aggressive and hard to work with. She's impatient because she knows she's very competent. A case in point is the mall expansion that Ben and his new hire Weber have been working on. They can't solve the problem of the ducks. Eliza has a solution, but will she have the opportunity to implement it? Even the other woman in the firm, Janice, won't help Eliza beyond recommending patience. It really shows what this woman is up against in this firm.
Yeah, Theresa Rebeck is such a dazzling writer. She takes mundane situations and people and spins them on their heads to dizzying effect. We should be rooting for Eliza, but she is just too unpleasant and manipulative. We should be rooting for Janice, but she is a backstabbing bootlicker. We should be rooting for Ben, but he is too entrenched in the status quo. Nobody wants to rock the boat but Eliza, and that can be very dangerous. Even Stu, who should be the villain with his male chauvinism and disrespectful manner, has his moments of being sympathetically pathetic. Weber is all talk and no action and thinks he can get by on being young, white, and male, which makes it hard for him to accept any other possibility. Adrian Campbell Holt has directed this with suspenseful glee as the plot shifts gears and tone and is filled with the unexpected. It helps with this crackerjack cast that conveys the artifice of the work environment. And this plays from 1992, and it taps about with everything that's going on today.
Yeah, it's
still
like
ripped from the headlines almost.
Incredibly relevant. But I do think we do care a little bit more about Ben and Eliza. In spite of their faults, they're the only hope for this firm's future.
But the thing is, everyone is complicated.
Yes.
This is not a black and white play at all.
Yeah, I agree. It's
very
not
clever.
black and white, but it's very good.
At MTC is John Patrick Shanley's The Portuguese Kid. It operates on many levels. The first scene is like a 1940s comedy with snappy repartee. Then it turns rather introspective, but at heart it is a romantic comedy. Atalanta has just buried her second husband, and she goes to her childhood friend Barry, who is a lawyer, to sell her mansion. Despite the chemistry between them, they are involved with younger people. Atalanta is with Freddie, who used to be with Patty, who is now married to Barry. The usual complications ensue, with Barry's interfering mother causing more problems, or maybe the solutions. Jason Alexander has cornered the market on portraying angry, irresistible nebbishes. Sherry Renee Scott brought to mind Joan Rivers in the opening salvos, but as her character put it, there is a darkness about her. Pico Alexander is very dishy and acted like he'd just come from a Damon Runyon story. Amy Carrera knows how to rock a scene and a bikini. Mary Testa is redoubtable as she dances her way between scenes, shouting from the wings and making life as difficult as possible for everyone in her sphere. Predictable as the story may be, under Shanley's witty, explosive dialogue, it flew by at a hysterical rate. Plus, it gave us something to laugh about in this depressing political times. So I love this. I know I am alone here. Nobody else liked it, but I thought this was like an old Neil Simon comedy.
At Theater for the New City, you could see Prague 1912, developed by the Experimentals, written by Lou Hauser, directed by George Farage. There's a dramatic actress, Madame Trasek, who specializes in real tears induced by smoke, and she's playing in the empty Café Savoy with her lover and manager, Jack Lowry. Their hot sweet potato cart seems to be the only source of income, and their only real fan is the traveling salesman Gregor Samsa, who we see as a stand-in for the writer Franz Kafka. It has elements including good performers and a good setting and interesting ideas, but none of it comes together, and it was painfully bad. So I just don't understand why it bombed so much.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Mark Savitt here. And apparently, just as Gregor was based on Kafka, Jack Lowry and Madame Trasek were based on the Yiddish theater actors Itzhak Lowy and Manya Chichik. I've always been interested in plays by historical characters and situations, but this just missed the mark. Even though the set was remarkable, I never got a sense of time or place. And the three actors were terrific. I mean, Jenny Vath's interpretation of Queen Leia, based on King Lear, was hilarious. And Alex Wilburn really set the tone with this beautiful cornet music based on old Yiddish songs of the period of 1912. But it would have been nice to see a flashback scene of when she ended up abandoning her children to run off with this guy. And it's sad that the playwright Lou Hauser died in 2011 because she is very good at creating vibrant characters. It just needed a bit more of a story, I think. So
yeah, the parts were much better than the whole in this case. Kristin Hardwick saw and reviewed This One Is for the Girls by writer Dorothy Marchik and director-choreographer Kangas Erickson. A college professor finds herself hurt and perplexed when her current beau dumps her for a perky young poet. So, she, being an academic, enlists 3 of her students in a therapeutic-style survey. They share their experiences, and classic songs such as Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, If I Knew You Were Coming, I'd Have Baked a Cake, You Don't Own Me, and Stand By Your Man illustrate the girls' stories. There's a lot more on Facebook, but Kristin said, this one for the girls is great fun, and during the show, you may find yourself not knowing whether to laugh or cry, which she thinks is the real reason to love going to the theater. She gave it a happy face.
At 59 East 59th Street, Kate Kerrigan and Brian Loudermilk's musical The Mad Ones, teenager Sam is at a crossroad. Everyone is pulling her in different directions, and she is too frozen to go anywhere. Her boyfriend Adam is content to stay and work in his dad's tire shop. Her BFF Kelly is wild and crazy and wants to join in her adventures as she heads to state college. Her feminist single mother wants to go to an Ivy League college, and spurred by Jack Kerouac's On the Road, Sam wants to get her driver's license, but is having a tough time with that also. Will Sam come to terms with what she wants and not what other people want for her? Will she be able to let go of the pull that Kelly has on her? This musical can be looked at a couple of ways: teen angst and coming to terms with grief. It's gripping and relatable up to a point, but after a while it skids off the road. Mental dilemmas are hard to make exciting for 1 hour and 40 minutes. However, the acting is superb, and J. Armstrong Johnson is filling in for Ben Frankenhauser for a while. That's why I saw it. Anyway, I may not have been completely mad about The Mad Ones, but it definitely has its moments, so I'm giving it a happy face minus. And I like the opening number the best.
Currently revived on Broadway is M. Butterfly, written by David Henry Wang, directed by Julie Taymor, and it's based on a true story. A French diplomat, René Gallimard, tells from a jail cell where he's serving a sentence for passing state secrets to China. He examines more than his 20-year history of a relationship with the male Peking opera performer Song Li Ling, whom he believed was the perfect woman, his butterfly. I thought the political points about how the West views the East and about male and female gender relationships was more interesting than the actual relationship, which I couldn't really buy. I just didn't see how this could have gone on for so long with supposedly him not knowing. I thought the acting was really good. Clive Owen, in playing someone who's much more of a nebbish, really, than he ever could be, was as convincing as he physically could be for this role. And the performer who played the Peking opera star, Jin Ha, also, would never really be mistaken by most normal people for a woman, but, did a good job of acting this character.
See, when this play first came out with John Lithgow, I was so blown away by it. I actually copied every single person's name in the program and wrote a fan letter to the whole lot of them and sent it to the theater. And John Lithgow actually wrote me back. And I went back to see it again with Tony Randall. I went to see it in the movies with Jeremy Irons and John Lone. I love this story. It just fascinates the heck out of me. But David Henry Wang, he fussed around with it, and the ending, which was so incredible when they did it originally, it wasn't done that way, and that just totally disappointed me because it lost its impact. But I talked to Jin Ha, and he made it all make sense, which I think even you could understand.
Go ahead.
You're interrupting before I can even explain to you how. You're ready to attack me before I've said anything. The thing is this. Rene, his name is Rene, right?
René Gallimard.
Yeah. See, the thing
French
is this. Obviously, at first he thinks it's a guy, but then he says, oh no, then he thinks it's a female. But here's the thing. He was attracted to a guy. These two were really attracted and in love with each other. There really was a chemistry there. But he couldn't accept the fact that he was gay. So in his mind, he had to make this person into a woman and believe it was a woman. And he had to swallow, literally, the artifice in order to be able to continue because he loves this person. It's sort of like the crying game
Right,
situation.
but again, what we see on the stage doesn't really relate to that. You know, it doesn't seem like these two people are really in love. It seems like the opera singer is just using the guy so that she can manage to survive in this communist system.
Because
it really didn't,
well,
you know, like what he was saying about what he thought he was presenting and what maybe the real people felt is not what we see on stage.
And also the other thing is because he was also being obviously he was a spy for the Chinese government. And what I thought was interesting was like, you know, he is being made to be this female for this guy to spy for China, and yet China throws him under the bus. But I talked to Jinha about this too, because this play just fascinates me. And he felt he was still being patriotic, and he was patriotic, despite all the changes and regimes and everything.
But what we see of that, you know, like him being sent to the farms and having to do hard work there, doesn't register as a patriotic person doing his most for the state. It looks like someone who's being forced to work in a situation they don't want to at all. We never really got any sense of his character's sympathy for, you know, the Maoist revolution.
But it's sort of, I'm just really thinking about this, but in your interpretation of all the events, it almost is like following all the different interpretations going on stage, because you're getting what's real on stage, you're getting a totally different interpretation to, and what's real to these characters is totally different interpretation than what they're saying, if you're following me.
Sort of.
I know.
But I don't think, you know, again, sometimes the extra information that an actor may give you doesn't really jive with what you're seeing as an audience
But see,
member.
to me, an actor who's playing the part knows the part better than anyone because he's living that part. So I mean, maybe it's not coming across to you, but this is what he's trying.
It didn't come across to you either until you talked to him and then you listened to what he said.
Yeah, because I was.
But that wasn't what you felt when you saw the show.
Because I had my own interpretation from before, and I had my own feeling. I was expecting the same thing from before. I got to tell you what happens at the end, which doesn't happen here, that I saw, which was so moving, is that at the end, the guy, Rene, he strips himself down, and he puts on the makeup, and he puts on the wig, and he turns into M. Butterfly at the end. And it's just stunning, but he doesn't do that here, and that's what it just upset me that such a brilliant ending did not occur. So I'm kind of giving this a happy face minus because it's still an interesting story, and Jinha I thought was so fabulous. He was amazing.
I'm giving it mixed faces because, again, I thought the performers were good, but maybe they're not as good as I think they were because I clearly wasn't getting what they thought they were doing.
Well, I think it's an interesting story, and especially with what's going on with all the gender fluidity and stuff going on right now. It's just an interesting story, I think, still.
Okay.
And now we're to find where the plays were that we talked about, and plays we've seen before. And Leslie went to see Shame of Thrones, and so the review will be on the Facebook page. And In Love with the Arrow Collar Man. It's the same guy that did Hicks at the Fringe, and I'm going December 1st, but it's closing December 2nd. And Metropolitan Playhouse is back with Arthur Kopit's Indian, that's closing December 16th. And the new group has got Downtown Race Ride, that's closing December 23rd. We'll talk about this on our next show, December 9th. And a lot of cool events going on, starting with Broadway Unplugged. Scott Siegel now at Merkin Hall. He's upgraded. The Debate Society, my favorite theater company, is having their holiday social December 9th. And Harlem Stage is having their Give Things Get Down on Saturday, November 25th. Aberdeen Theater and Broadway Cares Equity Fights 8 is having their benefit with James Lacine and Eve Ensler play December 1st through 3rd. Richard Maxwell's New York City Players Holiday Party is December 6th. And going on in New Jersey is Annie. And going also on in Teaneck, New Jersey is Junie B. Jones the musical. So 2 great musicals for the kids to go to. And M. Butterfly certainly made an impression on us. It's funny because Miss Saigon is also the M. Butterfly story. Some really good cabaret events are going on, especially at Feinstein's 54 Below. You've got Ben Vereen, Melissa Errico, Alice Ripley and Emily Skinner in Unattached, Legs Diamond, 54 sings Cantor and M's Woman of the Year, David Yazbek with Katarina Lee, The Year of Living Dangerously, Steve Ross and Shauna Farr. And at the Laurie Beachman, you've got Richard Skipper Celebrates, which is always such a fun, happy, cheers you up no end. And Baby Jan Dexter and Carol Lipnick are at Panagia. And Judy Collins is at Joe's Pub. And Timmy Abelto is at the Triad. Jason Bishop is back at the New Victory. And St. Luke's has, this one's for the girl. Amos has got a whole bunch of stuff going on, all these great musicals. Check out Amos. And 59th Street. At 92nd Street Y, you've got Sutton Foster. You've got Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Sheen Center, Michael Cerverus with his band Loose Cattle. And a couple of plays at here. Home Place we'll talk about next show. That's going on at the Irish Rep. That's by Brian Field. And Bread and Puppet's going to be at Theater for the New City. And the Brick is in financial difficulty, so if you could donate to them, that would be great. BAM always has major, major stuff going on. So just check out their bam.org. And the Flea's got Lava, which is a great gymnastic. Alfie took that from them when they were little. Page 73 is at the New Ohio, with Today is My Birthday. Lots going on at the Public. And Abrams Art Center, too. And don't forget the last match at Laura Pell's. And at Lincoln Center, we've got Junk and the Wolves, which are 2 really good shows. And we'll talk about Billy Crudup and Harry Clark at the Vineyard, and Diaspora next show, and Torch Song Trilogy. It's closing December 9th, and I'm going December 2nd. And Describe the Night is at the Atlantic Theater Company. And don't forget our Facebook page. We see a lot of plays that close before we get a chance to get it on the show, so always check the Facebook page out. And don't forget to pick up your Performing Arts Insider, the Cultural Heartbeat of New York City. My next show is December 9th. Go like us on Facebook, Twitter,